coming back to see day one, starting training with an untouched Barb stallion. If you went ahead and watched the intro video on the adoption of how I ended up with Covert. So I'm going to go ahead and start the training video for today and just kind of talk you through what we started with and go from there. Thanks so much for watching.
I was happy to see that Covert ate and drank fairly well his first night on the property. I wanted to test out and see how reactive he was initially. I was kind of happy to see that he actually was willing to take a few steps towards me right after I walked in his little makeshift stall for the first time. And I had a lot of time where I spent just sitting in here with him, letting him get used to my presence, but not asking anything of him or trying to approach him. There were a few times during this first day that I tried various different treats just to see if I could tempt him with something to come over and sniff me. And ultimately I was able to get him to take a little bit of hay from my hand, but he wouldn't take any grain, carrots, or other types of treats. Day one wasn't a real exciting day training-wise, but I think it was a really important first step for us in gaining his trust. For those looking for more of the active process, you may want to fast forward a little bit to where we actually start some approach and retreat. At this point, we started some slow approach and retreat. I wanted to see how big his bubble was, where he would remain comfortable with me before he would start to move off. If he seemed to get uncomfortable, I did try to back off a bit and give him more space. My goal wasn't to move him at this point. And of course, we were still having quite a bit of rain here in British Columbia, so you can hear the rain falling on the roof, but he did fine with that. And he did actually let me muck out his pen and not get overly worked up this morning. One of the things you'll notice is that I did try to reward him for any interest in me, so if he looked at me or stepped towards me, I gave him additional space to reward that and release the pressure I was applying to him by being close to him. I started to add movements of my arm and my hand to mimic petting, so as we progress and I start to get closer and closer, he'll become more comfortable with that motion. All through my approach and retreat this day, I was really closely paying attention to the cues he was giving me with his body, to determine how close I could get before he would become uncomfortable. I like that he's got a fairly relaxed body position. He actually drops his head here a little bit, which is a good sign of relaxation. And he's got a back leg rested, so he's not overly concerned with my approaching at the distances that I'm doing currently. At this point, I'm starting to get some good responses from him. He's doing some yawning and some licking and chewing and releasing his tension through that and learning. He's also starting to show a little bit more interested in me instead of just ignoring me. I was finally able here to get him to start taking little bits of hay from my hand. I really didn't know how he was going to be when I got him home. The rescue didn't have much information about him or his personality, and there was that risk that if he was aggressive, I might not be able to handle him or do his training myself. But I was really happy that through all of this, he was very calm, he was very level-headed, he seemed to have a very kind temperament to him, and there were no signs of any aggression at any point. Here, buds. Can I muck this out real quick, buddy? Okay. I'm just gonna go this way. Yep. You're fine. You can walk by. You can go eat while I look. Okay. All I gotta do is pick up poop, okay? And keep your pen as clean as possible. I have the muck bucket with me here, which is why he's a bit more leery with me being this close to him right now. I'll bring the big scary bucket with me, okay? And we keep the really scary things all in one spot. I didn't want to startle him with this at this point since we're just in the early stages of building trust. So I am going quite slow with this because he's not really ready for something like this to approach him very quickly. Good job. And so I essentially just wanted him to calmly walk to the other side of his area so I could get in there and knock where he'd been pooping. Good boy. He's a good boy. You're good there. Let me go here. Okay. Boy. I'll get used to this. Because I do it twice a day, okay? I know that's your safe spot that you like. Okay? Okay, you can go back to your spot. I have to add that I do have a nest of crows, and they are quite noisy, so you'll notice them in some of the videos, especially when they're feeding their young. They get quite loud. There you go, good boy. I went back out in the evening to spend more time with him, trying to maximize the amount of time that I could spend with him in day one. So I was out there pretty much until it got too dark to see anymore. Gradually, his bubble was getting smaller this first day, although I still couldn't touch him. He would let me get quite close overall. And I had switched over to my phone at this point to video for the day, as the GoPro had kind of died earlier, so I didn't get quite as good a video with this one. Boy. That's a good boy. Good boy. Nice big sigh there. I'm really just hoping to get a sniff from him the first day here, where he shows enough interest and enough confidence to reach his nose out and sniff the carrot. Just sniff it, buddy. Very nice. And that was our first real sniff where he volunteered to do that. We ended our day here. He was actually starting to approach me a little bit on his own, starting to reach out and sniff willingly. So we decided that that would be a good point to end for the day. Good boy.